is Rowena Dooley asking Sol citizens to report for duty. This is Rowena Dooley asking Sol citizens to report for duty.
And greetings. Welcome back to Soul Voices. I'm GriffinGamingRPG, and we are so happy to have you joining us today for another round of conversation with the folks from the Star Citizen community. Soul Voices is the show where we do a one-on-one conversation where you get to come in and give your thoughts and comments to the topics that I pick, often from Spectrum, Reddit, the gaming industry, or CIG itself, and sometimes just my own crazy thoughts. So hopefully you guys will be able to come in and spend some time with me today. Today is what, February, oh my God, March the 9th. We missed you guys last week, had some stuff going on, but I'm back this week, and hopefully we'll have a really good conversation. Let's see, any shout outs to people? Let's see who's here. Let's see, we've got Danger Hobo, Scavenger, New Soul Sounds, MT Stunner, and Citizen Ninja. I love that name. I remember Citizen Ninja. Let's see, Magoroth, Fast Card is here. Togi, what up? Togi is here. Happy to see all of you guys here joining me today on a Saturday afternoon. Today's topic for the show, I guess it's kind of like the overall topic, is Star Citizen. Is it for you? Yeah, I've shared with a few of you guys that I've been thinking about this thought for a while, and I was trying to debate that I want to make a video and just kind of put out my own little video with my 2 cents so that nobody would get mad at Soul Citizens for what I have to say. Or whether we would make it a topic for a Sunday show. And I still may do that. We still may make it a topic for a Sunday show. In fact, tomorrow's show is going to be kind of that a little bit. Our Sunday show, we're doing a show called What a Wonderful World. And we're going to do a little bit of that conversation tomorrow. But today I thought, I said, well, it's one thing to hear our thoughts. I said, since I'm presenting this as a question, and if I were to put it out as a video, it would be going to the community, and the question would be, what would the community have to say? How would they feel about this topic? As you guys know, Star Citizen's been in development a long time, blah, 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 blah. And so there's a lot of anticipation, but there's some questions I have about Star Citizen when it comes out, when it's released fully, when people are able to go in and take advantage of all that it offers. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So I hope you guys will be primed up for that. Okay. Pops in Space, what's going on? Good to see you. And who is that there? Oh, Radar. Radar. Good to see you. Awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into our first topic. Now, this one, I really was excited about this. I was on Reddit yesterday and I saw this. And I said, oh, I looked at the title for it and I was like, okay. And then I said, wait a minute, maybe this makes sense. So I want to see what you guys think about this. So let me change up the old screen there. And let's go to this very first topic. This very first one that I came across yesterday, It was the Hull C refusing to die testing by Citizen Eds. So I'm going to play the video for you guys to see it. I'm sorry, it's like a little small video. Hopefully you'll be able to see what happens here, okay? But to give you a little bit on this thing, I have in 30 seconds. Okay, we already got an ad coming up. Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to show you guys this in a second. So since Admiral says we have a commercial coming up, I'm going to wait a second. Fastcard has already put the link in. I don't know. You guys give me a vote. When we get commercials, should I just continue to talk, or should we just kind of pass time for that commercial to go by and then jump back in? Because if you're a subscriber, you get to dodge the commercials, right? If you're not a subscriber, you get to see the commercial. We really set the commercials at minimum. We really didn't want to, really have like a 3-minute commercial and we're having dialogue and conversations and you come back and you miss 3 minutes of conversation. So wait for us. Okay, wait. Okay, continue to talk. Makes people pay the bill. Okay. You should sing during the commercial breaks. No, yeah, I agree. I know. I don't get the commercials. Well, the commercials actually are a means of revenue for any content creator. That's why Twitch really sweats about us doing it. And we have held off on doing commercials for a long time. But because we are growing and because of our subscriber numbers, we are very moderate. If you guys look at our numbers and the people that view us, still takes a little bit of money to run things. So that's why I set it on, but I set it at minimum so that I didn't want to do the long commercials. But yeah, we're going to figure it out, guys. I mean, maybe we'll let it go. Maybe we won't. I don't know, but we're testing it for right now. Okay. So just kind of bear with it. Okay. Let them roll. Yeah, but let them roll with us. Okay. Go ahead. Keep talking. Okay. All right. 2 minutes. Are you serious? It's doing a 3-minute commercial? It's only supposed to be doing 2 1-minute commercials. Let Admiral do the sounds. Okay, so I got to do some adjusting then, guys, because really it's only supposed to be doing 2 1-minute commercials during an hour. So that's spooky. Yeah, Citizen Space Rex, you are lucky that you don't have them. All right, so let me go ahead and I'm going to start. You guys already can see what's going on. I don't know this little video up there, little commercial, but the link is there, okay? And I know that commercial's still rolling, so are we almost there? Yeah, I don't know if I like this because it's kind of like, I don't know, people miss out on the conversation. We'll have to figure this out. 1 minute left. Wow, okay, it's doing a full 2-minute commercial. You know what happened, Admiral? I was on Restream instead of on Twitch, and when the warning came up, that's why I didn't see it. Okay, so I'm on Twitch now. We can talk to them that we talked about the commercials. Yeah, okay. His sound effects, 1 minute. All right, we're almost there, gang. Which never shows me commercials. I understand the principle. All right. Okay, so here we go. This at 3% commercial. It did 3 minutes? Are you serious? Okay, no, I should have done that. That's something I need to go in and take a look at. All right, 15 seconds. All right, gang. So Fastcard has already put the link in. This is a PBS telethon. You're right. Okay, Jay. Okay, gang, we should be back up. All right, so here we go. Thank you, Admiral. So let's get ready to do this. Let's take a look at this first video here, okay? This is a video of an Idris. And the Idris is basically attempting to destroy a Hull C. You guys see that? And so when you read this, it says the Hull C refusing to die. Give me your thoughts. I'm not going to share my thoughts. I want to know what you think. I mean, should an Idris be able to one-shot a Hull C, or should it be able to one-shot anything? I'd love to know what you guys think about that. Do you think that this video is legit? Now, mind you, let's take some things into consideration, okay? Before we get into this, we know that armor, quote unquote, not in the game yet, right? 2, balancing completely not in the game yet, right? But I think people do have their ideas. Remember, I was talking about this idea that the show this week is Star Citizen, is this the game for you? Do you think that there's an assumption that players think that once I get an Idris, I can just nail anything? You know, I've got this, this big laser on the front, and I should be able to one-shot anything that's in the game. So we got Jay. Jay is already, oh no, Fist to Face. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong person. Fist to Face is already in the green room, so I'm going to bring Fist in with me. And once again, guys, don't forget that.
Hey.
Whoa.
Am I hot?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I had it turned up because of the video. Sorry. Guys,
sorry.
don't forget that there is a link that will come in chat. We always invite and welcome people to come in to talk to us, give us your thoughts. So feel free to click on that link and come in and join. Okay, Fist, how are you?
Okay, I'm good. My thoughts on this. I feel like no, Idris railgun should not, basically one shot a whole C. Like you just talked about, obviously armor is not in, but I'm glad to see that it doesn't do that even now, because yes, a railgun should be feared, but it shouldn't be like to a point where it's like a god weapon,
Like a
where
doomsday weapon.
Right. To me, I think right. I mean, I think you need to maneuver to make sure you don't get hit by it. But yeah, I'm I don't want I don't want something to be in the game to be where it's like, okay, even if, because like a hitbox can be really wide for that railgun, and let's say you just narrowly miss it, or like it just skims you, or something like that, it could still blow you up because of the amount of damage that it does. So hopefully, I'm hoping that the game, has that calculations in it.
Yeah.
That let's say you don't get the full head-on railgun,
But it's substantial when you get hit, kind of thing. You mean like it really?
Right.
does
And like
significant
Fast Car's saying, it essentially, realistically, that ship should raise up and flare back, because that's an energy weapon that should have recoil to it.
Don't even start down that argument again.
All
Oh
right,
my God.
all right, I'm good. I'm not gonna let it go.
Don't even start down that argument again. All right, Fist. Thank you, brother.
All right.
All right, let me bring in Pops in space next. Pops, you there?
Yes, I am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What are your thoughts?
All right. This is what I think should happen, right?
Okay.
They should put in a big sword and effects when that thing shoots, and just cut ships like in half or chunks. Using that. All right. That's my thought.
Okay.
And it's not real, but I want to throw that in.
You want to throw that in? Okay, fair enough. Some good animation. I appreciate that. All right, Pops.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, let me bring in Admiral Kusanagi. Admiral, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good.
Happy Saturday.
Yeah.
This is a difficult one. So, I mean, you've got a military ship that's designed to fight military ships shooting a commercial ship that's not designed to do so. Nor is it armored. It's also, its spline is open, so it has what I would assume is kind of like the soft inner parts kind of exposed. Should it be able to one-shot it? Maybe if you hit that the middle spot that we're talking about, maybe it can, maybe like a good shot like that. It just really, I mean, it is, again, it's a civilian ship. I mean, no one wants to get one-shotted by an Idris,
Well,
but
it's civilian, but it's industrial too, right? It's not like a, you're flying around in some, cruising ship, a Genesis or something like that, right? I mean, it is an industrial ship. You mentioned a good point, though. CIG has kind of been on this thing about us being able to target certain areas like the components and things like that, but they really haven't talked about structural targeting. Do you think that maybe on certain ships there should be something like that that does allow you to say, I want to target, like you could maybe move your mouse over, and if you click on it, your computer locks onto that specific area, instead of like they have it where it gets highlighted, right? But what about structural? Do you think that that would be an option, that maybe you could find a vulnerability in a ship like that?
Well,
because you were doing this. Excuse me. Let me say this real quick, because you mentioned this the other day. You talked about when you were attacking the Idris that you didn't want to use the automated. You manually wanted to hit that cross section that connected the engines to the ship, and that was how you were able to break it off, right?
Yeah, with the Ares, and I just used one Ares. I'm giving away my secret here. I actually turned off the targeting for the computer, so like I didn't target the ship, and that way it wouldn't kind of pull my gun to the center of the ship like it normally does.
Right.
And I was aiming directly at the engines, and everybody else was shooting it, but I was like literally shooting just at the engines. And I mean, I probably got a little bit of help, but I blew off at least 3 of the engines with one full ammo of the Ares. And everyone's like, like, oh, I have to go back and get more ammo and come back and get more ammo and come back with if they have an Ares with an Inferno.
Right.
And I was able to do that in one go. And
so you were doing focus targeting. You were doing focus targeting. You were specifically
I was doing focus targeting. And they're coming out with the engine thing where you can focus in on it and like, oh, shoot the engines or shoot the turrets. I'm not sure how that's going to work with the turrets. It'd be interesting to try that with like an Idris mission, just like the ones we're doing right now, the priority missions. Yeah. And see if we could just blow up a turret, Yeah. But yeah, maybe that will be a thing. It sounds like it could be a thing. I was trying to. The one thing I would like to do is try to shoot off the gun in the front.
See if you can blow the that. Someone actually did that. I know the game's not balanced, so this is not real, guys. But there was a video on Reddit. I saw it about a month ago. There was some guy who had landed at. He was at like one of the. He was at a mining facility or something. But wherever he was at, he was at one of those places where there was no shields. Right? I mean, no. What do you call it? No armistice area. Right. So this Idris flies into atmosphere and is hovering like, I don't know, maybe 500 meters above, maybe, and is firing at his ship. I think he had a Connie or something. He had some ship down on the ground, and I guess he heard it. So he came running outside, and it was firing at his ship. And this is no joke. The dude pulled a railgun off his back and fired directly at that railgun on the Idris and blew it off. It was the funniest thing in the world. And it basically, crippled the ship to a certain degree, right? Because this person evidently didn't have anybody in the turrets to do it, and they were using that main gun. So I thought that was kind of funny to say, oh God, I know the ship's not going to be that vulnerable. But you just mentioned the ability to say, hey, if I want to target that weapon to, put that weapon out of service, because we've only worried about, components and things like that. But I think your idea would be really cool if you could do that.
So you're also looking at two things when the video here. You're looking at two shots, one going through, like you imagine like a real bullet and the energy passing through a body or an armored vehicle. And then you also have that hit when it's stopping and hitting something more solid. So this is where the armor is going to come into play with military ships. Yeah. So that's kind of the way I look at this. I'm like, maybe the angle is where they're stopping it. I don't know. I don't know what he actually hit to make it pass through. I mean, again, just spindles. Again,
everything out there is just for play right now, right? I mean, it's not locked into how it's going to be. The whole series in lore is supposed to be some of the most armor reinforced ships in the game. And if you're going to have something that's transporting items with great value, tremendous amounts in large scale and size, it would only, to me, seem that it makes sense that the ship is also capable of defensive capabilities. Remember when the hulls first came out, a lot of people's first reaction was when they saw all the cargo pods on the outside, oh, that's going to be a victim ship. All we're going to do is go after it and take the stuff. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense from a business standpoint, a rational standpoint, a technology standpoint. If this ship is designed to jump through multiple systems, it's supposed to be able to carry thousands and thousands of SCU. I would think that they also design it in a way that it can protect that. Otherwise, it makes no sense. Take smaller ships that are enclosed, that are, much more discreet about how they're moving things, and do that economically, than to put everything out on some stems and say, advertise, here we are, take a shot of it. That doesn't make sense. So to me, when I see the whole sea taking punishment like this, even though it's 2 shots, even though it's within close range, this isn't too far off for me, to be honest with you. I think it needs to take about 4 hits to take it out.
Well, someone said it here in chat. They asked if the shields were on, and that brings up a good point. Because it doesn't really look like the shields were on.
It's hard to say because you can never tell if the animations are working right and stuff. And it's a good question. Right. Don't get me wrong; it's absolutely a good question. And again, there's an economy side to this, guys. And Admiral and I have had these conversations before about what is it going to take to make ships come up to their standard. If this, and we're just using scenarios here, let's assume that this whole sea is riding with stock everything, right? Nothing was upgraded, okay? And it took those 2 shots. It's stock. I would say, okay, I really would. I'd be like, that makes sense to me. Now, let's say his components, instead of being class C, are class D or E. Then maybe 1 shot, that's it. He's gone on shields. But maybe if he's got class A, he can take 4 shots. You see what I'm saying? That's the type of stuff I want to see in the game. you know, that this drives economy. It drives, should I take my hull C out if it's not fitted up well enough to go out into certain areas of space? Because I have not bought those components yet. I'm raising my level of risk up dramatically. But if my ship is tanked out and it's ready to go, and I've spent, you know, $1.9 or $2.7 million in components, that's a lot of money in game. And for somebody to say I should be able to take my ship out there and just get blown up on a one shot, that doesn't make sense to me. There has to be an aspect of that. Go ahead, Admiral.
I'm not sure if it has armor. I know this is like the C-130 of the.
If what doesn't have armor?
Of the UEN.
If what doesn't have armor?
The hull C. The hulls.
MISC ships are known. That is their lore. The freaking Endeavor is supposed to be able to withstand a meteor shower. I'm basing this on lore now. I'm not talking about anything else other than what the lore is, which makes these ships unique, industrial, and why people use them to move stuff like this. There's no other ships in the game that move tens of thousands of AUC, and there's a reason why.
Like a marshmallow shower? Is that what we're talking about here?
But I'm just basing it on lore, Admiral. Believe me, that doesn't mean they have to follow the lore, right? They don't have to. I'm just saying, if I'm using that as a base, if there is a ship that's supposed to be able to take punishment, whether it's from an Idris or a whatever, Ares or a Gladius, all I'm saying is these ships are designed to be able to go into deep space and to deliver stuff, right? I'm not saying they're invulnerable. I'm not saying they're invulnerable, but I'm just saying, is this so far-fetched, this video that we're looking at? Like I said, if he's using a stock components in here, that two shot makes sense to me. If he's using less than that, one shot, he's gone. If he's got an A, he's got to have some survivability possibilities. He needs time to say, I need to at least be able to spool up and have a chance of getting away, not get one-shotted.
I just want to end with, I don't think might not have the final picture shields. If you remember at Concept, the early shields that we had that people bought on Voyager Direct, you could buy shields for either direct energy weapons, or like direct hits, or you could buy shields that would soak up missiles really well. So they may kind of divvy that in, like put that back in a little bit. So it'd be interesting to see what happens.
It is, because there are some ships that have multiple, which I know because I pay for them. They have multiple shield components, right? You may have 4 different sets of shields on a ship, and maybe that's your balance that you decide how to trick out your ship. Do I use 2 of them for ballistics, 2 for energy? Do I use all ballistics? You know, that could be something that they could put in the game. But yeah, it's interesting. I thought the video was interesting. It's an interesting challenge for those of you who are in the midst of this big conversation about vulnerability with master modes and all this stuff going on. And people are worrying about, oh, my trade ships are going to be so vulnerable. And then there are other people on the other side that saying, oh, us PvP peers won't be able to hit anybody. You know, all that argument's going on right now. But I think we'll see in time. All right, Admiral. Thank you, brother. You all make sure y'all follow Admiral's school of blowing up Idrises, because he found a really good tactic to do it, and it helped us a lot when we were out there fighting Idris. Okay, that is question number 1. We're actually ahead of schedule today. Wow. Okay, we're gonna need it too, because this next topic is kind of a long one. Let me go here and here. This next one, I'm not. Boy, every once in a while I find a post, and I don't want to say that I'm picking on this person, because I'm not. At least I'm hope I don't come off that I'm picking on them. But I do want to raise a point again based around the theme of our show today, of is Star Citizen for you? Is the game for you? And I'm going to elaborate on this a little bit later, but I'll say this again, that I think we all, including myself, can be found to have our own ideas of what this game is supposed to be like and what it's supposed to offer us, right? And so I think this person is writing from a perspective of that, but you guys may feel differently about it. So I want to read this. It's a long letter, and unfortunately I can't give you a link for this. Well, I can. Fastcar can give you a link, but if we give you the link is under Concierge. Now, I haven't pulled from Concierge before. Normally I just pull from the general forums, but this one is from Concierge. And it's from Concierge. Let me just say it. So if you're not Concierge, you can't read the link that's up there that Fastcart just dropped. Who's that? Instigator, thank you so much for the resub. We appreciate that. Captain Serious Fun, hope you are doing well. We missed you last night. We know you're doing your thing, but your name did come up and people were thinking about you. Thank you for those 1,000 bits. Citizen Ja, thank you for that follow as well. That was yesterday. Okay, Citizen Child's not here. That was yesterday. All right, but thank you for that. So let me go ahead and bring this up. It's a lot of reading, so I'm gonna have to read through this. Okay. MMO without community. The best game ever made that no one plays by Koawhkaine. Maybe that's cocaine, right? Who knows, right? Cocaine. Okay. Probably is cocaine. All right. So let me read some of this for you. There's a lot of reading here. I'm going to put this on my other screen so that I can read it because this is a long read. All right. Sit back and relax, gang. Here we go. Is that right? No. Okay. Boom, boom. Here we go. I'd love to see some spirited dialogue about ways mechanics could be made to create an actual community environment within the game. I'm not talking about a community of lurkers in forum threads or a community of people who watch YouTube videos or attend SC-related conventions. I'm talking about the actual technical design of the servers and the people you end up socially interacting with. This posting may be critical of a lack of community, but it is not a criticism of any other element within the game. My friends and I all agree without question that this is the most amazing game that no one wants to play. I have a large group of very close friends from both online and real life acquaintances who all own this game, put in a small window of time, and were like, nope, come back when it's done. If they figure out server populations and how to make large shards that people can play again against each other on, or something similar. Am I taking crazy pills? Doesn't anyone else see that this is an extremely obvious and glaring problem? I would rather play Evorion on a server with 20 people than play Star Citizen. I'd ask you to guess why, but I'm hoping that the theme of my inquiry is easy enough to comprehend. And for everyone who doesn't know, Evorion is an extremely outdated game with probably less than a worldwide total of 200 players who play, but 5 or so servers that are up have a community. If you're confused about how I am defining a community, it's pretty simple. A place that I can go that's like Cheers. Maybe everyone there isn't my friend, maybe they are rivalries, maybe they are strangers, but over time everyone knows your name. Maybe you become famous, maybe you become infamous. Having a persistent player base in one realm creates a far more engaging social gaming experience. If you are too young or to even understand my grievance, maybe try using Google and type what makes a good MMO. And you may stumble across some opinions and include some references to social elements. Lastly, instead of just complaining about the lack of community, it's probably helpful to include a proposed solution to whatever I am criticizing. I don't claim to have the answer, but I can give simple examples of how other games try to lay out their large populations. For starters, some games would name multiple shards, so your character is actually saved to a specific area and only available there. Those shards or realms, or whatever you would call them, would sometimes be geographical, or sometimes simply just be named cleverly things that match the lore of the game. Let's see. Right now, I see 4 or 5 options for a new account. Maybe instead of you having a prefix for a region, the name of and then a name for the shard. And if you have a character server locked for that shard, for example, US West would be Lyra, US West would be Serpens, US East would be Cygnus, Oceanic Corvus, and Asia would be Canis Major. Granted, maybe it ends up being a list of 50 places. You could always have a launcher flag your region and by default only show you the options in your region. And if you so choose to, you could go into advanced options and turn on viewing of other regions if you wanted to see all of them. I don't necessarily think anything should be region locked because people have friends they play with all over the world, but I do believe that social community is the backbone of an MMO succeeding, and by definition, SC having 100 or 200 man servers without any semblance of community has more death in a community match. Without a semblance of community has more of a deathmatch community than an MMO community. Although the correlation might not be obvious, clearly SC staff has the ability to look at accounts made, hours played, attrition, etc., and can easily see that 90% of the accounts created via spending money don't play. At the least, then when they are looking to have events and create spikes in players' interest, and all of those people's immediately disappear again. Surely they have asked the question, how come no one wants to play the most beautiful and amazing game ever made? Am I wrong? Okay. So there's a lot there, right? So we are going to hustle ourselves over here. We've got Jay, the man, Voodoo Chow, waiting in chat to talk. And we see what he has to say about this, what his thoughts are. Jay, you there?
Hello, hello.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Doing all right.
Good.
I think orgs are this guy's answer. It has a social element. They can be flexible to whatever genre or subset, and has everything I think this guy is looking for.
I'm sure you have. If you haven't, I don't want to assume, but I know I have played games where there are certain servers that are named servers, right? And you always go there to play with your people and your friends and all that stuff. Or if the server's too full, you move to another server. Do you think that his solution works within what Chris Roberts has designed in the sense of the sharding, or do you think it goes against it? Because in a way, they have this thing where, like, if you go into a certain server, the game technically is supposed to bring you back to that server, right? But meshing is supposed to allow you to cross between servers. So his thing is about community and getting to know people. It sounds like he's saying he thinks the world is actually too big. But if you have these servers that have like a cap of 200 people, you get to know who those people are. You know, you see those names all the time. You see them pop up in the people who are online thing, and you can build a better type of community versus every time you hop in, there's different names. You don't recognize these people, you know. I mean, do you think that's a working solution, or do you think it goes maybe against what we're trying to do as far as the development of the game?
I think it's going against the development of the game, because my understanding of it is that you have these pockets and they can be as big or as little as the capacity of the server needs to render. And it's completely flexible. It runs across all the servers, and it's just one gigantic universe all operating at once, just in little pockets, and that could be on any given server and is flexible.
Okay.
So I don't think this guy is ever going to get as, limited, like this particular server, this machine only does this thing.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, Jay. Thank you, brother. All right. That was Jay. I don't know who came in first, so I'm going to bring in Togi because he hasn't been here, and then I'm going to work my way up from there. Togi.
What up?
Hey, buddy. How are you?
Oh, chilling.
Good.
All right. So, like two things for this guy. All right. Number one, the reason why people don't play is because the game don't work.
Like it ain't because of community, huh?
I mean, community is the one thing that it does really well.
Yeah.
All right. And number two, why is this guy? He's hoping that he can be a big fish in a small pond. You know, and going back to the name, that this ain't the game for you. You know, this was a game made for really, really big ponds.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And if you want to be a big fish, it's going to take more than, talking to your buddies on the weekend.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting, when he said that he has all these friends, both online and off. They've tried the game and they're like, let us know when it's done, when it's ready. And that goes to your point. The issue is more that the fact that maybe they're frustrated because things don't work, things are broken, it's an alpha state, blah, 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 blah. I just don't know. He his whole model here of changing this, and like I said, I know you've done this. We've played games that have, these 3 or, sometimes 20 servers, and you just always go to that same one because that's where all your friends are. But again, I think that changes a huge dynamic of this. And your point about the big fish thing is really cool because, first of all, I wondered when I read this, has this person done their homework about what Chris Roberts wants to happen? It sounds like he's taking what his experiences have been in previous games, right? And trying to
I would have to imagine if he's concierge, he has.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you would hope so. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna spend that kind of money,
yeah,
like,
yeah, you've done your homework, right? Yeah.
yeah,
But
and I think it's more just that people kind of get this whole thing of theory crafting, of dreaming, and someday, the closer that we get to release, the more people have to wake up.
Okay.
And we're seeing a lot of these people wake up and they're like, oh, this isn't going to be what I thought it was. You know, and what I thought it was based on little to no actual evidence.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we all dream when it comes to space games. We're all affected by them. We've grown up on them. We've watched them. They're part of our culture. It's very difficult not to want to overlay those ideas sometimes over something that looks similar or close to, right? To your point, doesn't mean that that's actually what's going to happen. And then there's the dynamic of just some things are just going to change. Even from CIG's perspective, they may have wanted to do something only to find out that it's not feasible, you know?
Yeah.
And what do we do then, right? You know, so that's good observations. All right, Togi. Thank you, brother.
Yep.
Good stuff. Good words from the Togue. Let me bring in Pops in Space this time. And I'll bring in Fast Car because he hasn't been here yet. I think, well, I don't know. He's got his mic muted, so I don't know what that means. Let me bring in Pops in Space and then we'll go back. Oh, he unmutes his mic. Okay, Pops, how are you?
Okay. Am I unmuted? Yeah. Okay. Togi is exactly nail on the head. I think he wants to be a big fish in a little pond in that area, and he has not done his homework. I may be wrong in the number system, but I think there's supposed to be like 100 systems.
That's what they're aspiring to eventually aspiring to 100 systems.
Now, with 200 people, that's 2 people in every system.
You breaking the math down like that. Yeah. Let me stop you there, Pops. I think one of the problems his argument is the fact that he's automatically said a certain number. When CIG has said, Chris Roberts has said, I want thousands of people to be in the game, right? So he's already basing it around a current number, right? Or a number that we know is practical and not the real number that Chris Roberts wants to do. Now maybe he does. Maybe he does want servers that have like 200 people because to Togi's point, then you can get to know those people, right? Instead of 2,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 people, if you've got 200 people who are always in this server, I get to know who my enemies are, who my friends are, blah, 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 right? But to your point, I don't think that's the roadmap. I don't think that's what Chris is trying to create are these isolated universes. He wants it to be a universe, right? That's interconnected, and maybe to Jay's point, an org, and it did sound kind of weird. It's like, dude, you're describing an org,
Yeah, exactly.
But then again, I don't know. Maybe he's looking at it being beyond just those immediate people in his org, but the entire people he plays with, both those that are, enemies and friends. I can't completely get where they're going with that.
And I would like to see this particular person's vision of a fight with a Vandal kingship with 200 people. So that's all I'm going to say.
All right, Pops, good point. All right, thanks, buddy. All right, let me bring in Fast Cart this time because he's unmuted and ready. I'm sure he was probably ready before. I should have just brought him down here. Fast Cart, I can't get you. Why can't I grab you? Hold on a second, guys. Don't talk because I brought myself up here with you. Let me see if I can get him this time. There we go. All right, FC, you're here.
Oh, there we go. Happy Saturday. Hope you're doing well. So my point, I want to say, at least from my understanding from the post of what was on the screen and what I read, it sounded like this person wanted to play with 200 people max. That's what he's suggesting.
Right.
So I have a game suggestion for this poster. Line of Defense. Not many people play it. Everyone will know. Everyone else on it.
Okay, that's
gonna be a great game for him.
That's your second joke this month where you got me to laugh. That's the second one this month. So your scale's going up.
And the month is early.
Yeah, I know. There's still hope. There's still hope. I do understand. I understand. Again, that's why the title of this show is Star Citizen for you, right? I understand what he wants to see happen. but there's nothing in the documentation, there's nothing in the history of this game that has said that that's what this game's going to be. You know?
Yeah, did I get to my second point? I know you.
Hang on a second. Stream could be louder. Togi says we could be louder. Okay, Togi, sorry. Let me bump up some stuff. There were some settings that were low, Togi. Thank you for mentioning that. So hopefully that's better. Go ahead, Fast Car.
Okay. Yeah, so as far as him, the poster being concierge, they might have dropped 1K in 5 minutes without much research. There's like 5 million accounts now, so some people may have came in, you know, to get excited about what all the pretty ships and drop 1K, and other people, you know, the earlier backers, we were more particular. So I'm not saying that that's what the person did, but it's just a possibility. So just because that person concierge doesn't really mean much now anymore.
Especially and we know gamers don't read, right? So that's a whole nother thing as well. Okay, good point, Fast Cart. All right, buddy. Thank you much. All right, let's bring in Fist to Face next. Fist, you there?
Hey, what's up? I'm gonna go back to Togi's point about this big fish and small fish and what did he say? Big fish
in a small pond. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think the guy's basing it off a lot of MMOs that are currently out now. You know, you have those towns that are hubs. Everybody hangs out at the towns. It's like we played Mortal Online. Most people hang out with Bhakti, or they hang out over at Maduli, whatever.
Right.
You know, and you get to know folks, like you said, you know, who's your enemy, who's not, who's on your kill list, you know, so on and so forth. And I get that point. But space, you got to ask yourself, is space? Space is what? It's big.
It's not limited like that. Yeah.
It's big. You're not. I mean, you're not limited to a map of a section of a world,
right.
You know, because that's what most MMOs are. You know, you don't even have a planet.
Yeah.
You know, with MMOs most that are out there.
Right.
You know, besides No Man's Sky, but even No Man. Okay, here we go. No Man's Ski. No Man's Sky. I don't know why I said.
That's Kai's phrase.
That's Kai's phrase. Yeah, right. There you go. So you look at No Man's Sky. Okay. When we played it for a little bit, it was you know, it was rarely. I mean, I don't know. For me, I didn't come across too many people. You know,
right.
But when there were certain things, you know, you knew that there was a hub where you can go to.
Right.
You can call the anomaly.
Right.
Right. So if you really wanted to interact with folks, there you go.
You go there.
And I believe that there will be those types of locations in Star Citizen.
Right.
You know, but I just don't think that it should be like that, like you said, everywhere. It's space. Like I should be like going way out. If I'm on an Orion, mining way out in deep space, and let's say chat is localized to that area, I should not hear or see anything in Terra or whatever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That to me is my feelings.
I hear you. I think your point that you gave example about Mortal. We know we play Mortal online, and there's a big difference when a map, when it comes to scale.
Right.
Even Mortal Online's map is huge, but it's because you either walking or on a horse. You know what I'm saying? You know, when you have to walk in Mortal, walking to a town could take an hour. It could take an hour to walk, right? So the scale feels big based upon the mode of transportation, right? But when you're in space and you have ships that can move at quantum speeds, right? Or whatever, to localize everybody into an area, you know, and mind you, like you said, you can go to these other towns in Mortal and there'll be an entirely different subset of players that are there, right? But you can still interact. But if you want to have your base town, that's where your people are. And in some ways, that's what Star Citizen is doing, just on a bigger scale. There are going to be people who live on Hurston. We know that now. We have friends right now. Where you live? I live on Hurston, right? You know, you know, some of us live at Microtech. We spawn in, we're at Microtech. So in some ways, it's there. But again, I don't know if this person is looking at the entire vision that Chris Roberts has, or to Togi's point, they're bringing their own vision to the game. You know,
Right.
I'm not sure which one
it
it
didn't
is.
make sense to me because I was trying to figure out where was he going with this post.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you trying to apply something that's from another game into this realm? Like,
He brings
that
up the topic of MMO, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow. About this whole What a Wonderful World is Star Citizen and MMO. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. So you guys, hopefully you guys will tune in for that one. All right, Fist.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
All right.
Let me bring in Stunner. We got Stunner coming in. Hey, Stunner.
Hey, what's going on, Griff?
All right, buddy.
So I had a couple initial thoughts about this,
Okay.
but you know, as I was thinking about it more, I think this is a typical Star Citizen person that's been with the project for not as long as quite some of us, but we all have been through that cycle where we get to the point where we're like, wow, we really like this game, we really want it to succeed, but we're even in the short time we've been with it, we're like, this is going to take a long time till it's done. I've already put a lot of money into it. I want to see it succeed, but there's a lot of people complaining about it and saying it'll never get there and blah, blah, blah. And I think he's just lashing out and not really knowing how to concisely make his point. I don't think it really has anything to do with the things he's saying, because those of us that are old dogs, a lot of us are here that play Star Citizen and been around in MMOs for a long time in the gaming community. I mean, he starts off by saying, I'm not talking about these things when I mean community, but those are the very things that actually do mean community and that most games strive for never get. There's more people playing this alpha and there's more community here in this alpha than there are in most games that we've played from AAA studios that got finished.
Yeah.
And that's the big point at first I thought, is that he's trying to compare some of these points that he's making to a game that's in alpha and not finished. And, you know, it's none of us know, you know, some of the points he's trying to make, none of us know where those things are going to be, you know, when the game launches. But again, right now it's about having a small number of people on servers, but as many servers as they need to spin up to do the testing that they need to do. It's not about trying to, you know, get the same people on the same server all the time. So, you know, you can only play with the same group of people and play the same way and not really get any meaningful testing done.
Right. Let me just take a quick second. I'm going to come back to your point on community. I want to give a shout out to Keith. Thank you for the follow. Wing Zero Type, thank you for the follow. And also Fiber Limpa. I'll say Fiber Limpa. Thank you for the follow, guys. Let me ask you this. I've been surprised. I'm a part of Test Squadron, right? That's my org. I'm in several orgs, but that's my main org is Test Squadron. Okay. I'm kind of wondering, since this person talked about community, I'm only mentioning this because you're here. You're a part of our community. And we're not an org, right? In fact, I think everybody who is a part of our community is in some other org or some other group or whatever. I'm just trying to figure out, and Togi said this earlier, he said if there isn't one thing that CIG does have, in his opinion, is that there are social communities that have been created, even in the game's current state. Do you feel that that is the case, that there are communities that are involved, or do you feel that the game needs to be in a better place to create community? Because I kind of feel like there are communities. I know if I go over to Test Squadron right now, there's a whole bunch of people over there. There are people at Test Squadron. This is no joke. We have regulars. Like every day, I'm on there every day, and there are some people that are there every day. You know what I mean? Maybe they're not playing the game, maybe they are playing the game, but they're there every day. You know, what do you think?
No, I completely agree. Depending on the day of the week and the time of the day, I actually know different Discords I can go to that there are regularly people playing that I've played with in the past, that I have on my friends list, that, you know, even if it's like last night where we all joined up and we're, you know, doing some stuff in the verse, like those people were still on my friends list. I could have reached out to them and jumped in, you know, on them if I wanted to, like, you know, if other people weren't around. So yeah, there's definitely community. Yeah, there's so many. There's like, you know, there's PvP communities, there's pirating communities, there's, you know, I mean, even though there's so much of like the game that's unfinished, there's frickin' Sigelion and like, you know, trading communities and stuff. And there's so little going on there, you know, as far as in the game yet. So yeah, and definitely.
I know that there are plenty of times when I log in to play the game and I see names of people that I recognize all the time. They're not, you know what I mean? I mean, we didn't log in together as friends or anything. So I even with the amount of people that play the game now, I can look at the server and oh, there's so-and-so, there's so-and-so. I've seen these names a zillion times. Now, maybe it's because I've been around since God created dirt. I don't know. But I do. I do see community. I see people who regularly play the game. So again, I'm wondering if this is just because this person keeps emphasizing an MMO community. And I played MMOs, and I understand what he's talking about. I've played those games where you pick a particular server, you go in there, and that's always where you go with your folk. But I just don't know that model fits what they're trying to do here.
Right. Yeah, I definitely don't think that it will ultimately in the end, but it's far too early to even try to, make that point. It doesn't really go, in my mind, to community.
True.
There's lots of ways you could have, the best community ever in a gaming experience without having that type of a situation. I mean, that used to happen because that's how it had to be.
It had to be, right. You had to limit. It was the limitation, right? It was the technological limitations that made that have to happen that way. Absolutely.
Yeah, and look how people back in the day used to cry if because the overall gaming population was shrinking, they would combine servers.
Yeah, that's true.
And people would get upset about that.
That's true. All right, Stunner. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
All right. Later.
Alrighty. Let's bring in Jay, Voodoo Child. Jay.
Hello. What I think this person is kind of asking for in Star Citizen is a private server where there is a player of where he can kind of get to know who his enemies are, who his friends are, and just kind of have a limited population to work with.
Yeah.
And to Chris Roberts' point of view, this is not what he wants. Said, or the developers have said, there will not be private servers for this game. And so I think that's kind of what he's wishing for.
Yeah.
And he hasn't heard that. No, that's not Star Citizen. To your point of this week's title.
Yeah. This is tough. Again, I've talked about this offline with some of you folks. We've had 10 years to fantasize about this game. You know what I mean? To imagine what it's going to be like. And I think someone who came in earlier talked about that. If we're not careful, we find ourselves theory crafting, and then our theory crafting starts to become theory. You know what I mean? And it starts to become law, even for some people, right? There's enough stuff in a certain direction to make us start to believe that, well, this is the way it's going to be. Now, just as an offset, I can say this, guys, because you guys know this weekend Evocati is doing testing, and one of the main things they're doing is testing the wormholes and the jump gates. But one of the other things that they published that they're also doing is that they've increased the player count numbers up. And we had talked about this just a couple of weeks ago. Somebody asked me, what would I like to see for the player counts to be? And I said, I think that's something that's crucial by the time we get to 4.0, that we've increased player counts. And so they're currently right now looking at raising our up to 200 and beyond possibly. And so that's great to hear, right? But again, Chris Roberts has said, I want thousands of people playing together, So they need to, and again, CIG has a task to achieve, right? It's no small task to do this thing that they want to do. So we're going to have to see whether they're able to accomplish it. And we know they can put 1,000 people, 2,005 people on a server. The question is, can the game perform the way it needs to perform with those many people, in the game? We'll have to see. But no, you mentioned a good point, Jay. I appreciate that. Thank you, brother.
Later.
Okay, let's bring in Admiral Kusanagi. Admiral.
Afternoon again.
Back again.
So, what really grinds my gears, Griff?
By the way, guys, we're going to do a segment that called one day. I told Admiral that I'm going to steal that, and we're going to do a piece called What Grinds My Gears. I almost titled today's show that. Actually, I did originally, and then I decided to change it because I wanted it to be more of a segment than a title and it's a one-off. So we are going to do that eventually. So go ahead, Admiral.
Sad face. Hey, the guy goes, he's like, oh, and you have your character servers locked for that shard, and he talks about the server shards, names he wants, and he's like, well, I don't necessarily think anything should be region locked because people have friends all over the place. Well, it's like, well, maybe you should have gone back and maybe edited the previous sentence you just literally made. The guy's kind of all over the place, and he talks about it like it's almost like a finished game, and it's certainly not. I really wanted to jump at him, but then I thought, well, what happened last night? What happened last night when I came into Soul Citizens like late in the night?
You went to sleep.
No, before then.
I don't remember. I don't know what happened.
So you guys were getting ready on your 600i, and everyone's like, and I opened the door, and everyone's like, Admiral, and I'm like, hey guys, what's going on, right?
Right.
And I was just thinking, cheers.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what happened last night.
Yeah, you're
Everybody
right.
knew my name.
Yeah.
They were like happy to see me. And he even brings it up in his statement, and he just like, because we have people like, that we don't really play with, like, because they do more priority stuff. So there's people, that we know of, we get along with them very good, but the game styles is different.
Yeah.
So while I wouldn't like do it like post beta, because I'd be like, no, you're gonna get me in trouble with the law somewhere.
Right.
So, Togi, you're probably one of them too, but we'll say Kilradi might be the other one, but I'm not going to actually name names, although I just did. So, that I really feel like, and like whether it's Soul Citizens or the Yacht Club or some place like that, like you mentioned, they don't have to be necessarily orgs. They could just be a place where you could find community,
right?
Where you could get people to talk about the game and maybe hang out with them once in a while.
Yeah.
To think this game is going to be like a 50-person server, so all of them can just hang out is kind of ridiculous. And I think you're really putting, because the game, you can play this game solo, but, and I was talking to somebody else about this the other day, but when you play with more people, you will really start to love this game.
Yeah.
You can only deal with so many bugs and 30Ks when you're solo, but you could be there all night if you got if that's happening, when you got people to talk to and laugh about stuff like, oh my god, I just fell through the floor, or blah 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 blah. And so I mean, he's looking for community, and I think I hope that he's able to find it, and maybe look a little bit elsewhere to find people that want to play it now.
Yeah.
Certainly he has the drive to play like we do.
Right.
And his friends, like many of us do, have people that don't want to touch it because they want more of a finished game. And we understand that.
Right.
We jump play out the game.
Right.
But I really feel like I almost feel bad for this guy now because he's just wants to find people that he can talk to, like we all talk to, like after, Soul Citizens After Dark, where people who watching the show now, we jump into Discord usually, and we talk about what we just talked about. It goes elsewhere, it comes back. It's a great time.
Yeah.
And we're not an org. We keep trying to make it an org, but no one wants to lead it.
It's interesting. Let me say this too on something you just said. I think is important that you raised. One of the reasons why I think we're able to get through this process is because of the community. In other words, if I was a solo player who comes here, tries to play the game, and it doesn't work, I feel like it's almost so much easier to walk away and not want to be engaged. But the fact that I have friends like you and Stunner and Zombie Pig, and I don't want to start naming people because I'll forget names. I mean, I've got the Soul Citizens, but I'm talking about outside of Soul Citizens. I'm talking about the community people. The fact that there are people who come here with the same drive and desire that I have, whether the game will be great tonight, whether the game will be jacked up tonight, whether we'll learn something new this week, whether we will experience something we've never seen before. Like last night, we spent 3-4 hours going to POIs, and we had a ball. That's all we did. We did nothing. We later on, we did a couple of encounters, but in the beginning, that's all we were doing was just enjoying doing something different and being together. And I wonder sometimes, Admiral, if you think, and I'm going to present this question to Captain Serious One because he's coming in next too. There's a part of me that feels like it's good that some people aren't here during all of the stress. There's a part of me that feels that way. It's like, dude, don't stress yourself out. Take a break, play something else, enjoy life. It's just a game. But then there's another side of me that's starting to rise up that says that there's some experiences that we're going through that they're going to miss out on, that they're going to be unaware of that happened because they weren't here, because they didn't participate, because they didn't step into the process of what's going on. Now, that may not be for everyone. Again, the title for today's show, Star Citizen, is it for you? But there's a certain part of me that I feel that when this is all said and done, I'm going to be glad I was here, that I didn't miss it, that I didn't go away for 3 years or only come back when there was an update, and I wonder whether or not, listen, I'm not telling people to do it, because if your sanity can't handle it, I don't want you to go in the nut house. you know. But I just feel like maybe when this road is all finally done, I will look back on it and say it was rough, but man, I was glad I was there. You know, I was glad I met these people. These people took this ride with me. You know what I mean? But that's my thoughts on that. You know.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. But I mean, there are times where I'm like, I only have time for World of Warships or something like that, or you know, Star Wars or something.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, you and I, we play other stuff. That's cool. You know. But anyway, let me bring Captain in. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you, Admiral. Good stuff as always. And by the way, guys, don't forget when I change to this new show theme, it'll be because of Admiral Kusanagi. Admiral, could you throw yourself up in general for me? For some reason, Discord's not doing it for me. I'm going to see if I can bring Captain Serious Fun down. I can't even get him. Hold on a second. I don't know why Discord does this. Hang on, Cap. Let me see if I can bring him down now. Here we go. Boom. All right. Captain Serious Fun.
Greetings and salutations.
There he is, that voice. What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm getting ready to go to my 25th.
I know, yeah.
Out to Iceland. That's gonna be good. I don't want to keep you too long on this topic. I know you're ready to move on.
We only got one more topic here. Okay, go ahead.
I jumped in because when you read what Koawhkaine said about, and Admiral Kusanagi just referenced it. Mm-hmm. It was about this idea of that he mentioned about wanting to have a cheers moment where everybody knows your name. I was taken back to an experience you cultivated for us. I don't know if you remember this, but we were all at the Voyager Bar Lounge, the outside lounge in Orison. Mm-hmm. And we were having a conversation. It was around, I think it was a Christmas show or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was a Christmas after party or something like that. And Colossus was naked and jumping in the fire.
He's passing out beers to everybody. Yeah, I remember that. He got drunk.
Right. There is nothing on God's green earth that is stopping Koawhkaine and his friends from making Orison their home, from making the outside Voyager Bar setting their place where they meet, from partying up and going into the game and starting their experiences and making that their sort of base of hangout operations. He could walk in that space right now and they could be like, Koawhkaine, and that could be where they hang. Because we could have done it. We did it once. We could do it all the time if we wanted to. Right. If we wanted that to be our experience.
Right.
So I think everybody who has spoken is right in that ultimately it's not about that, because you can do that right now. Mm-hmm. It's really about the fact that he wants his friends to play and they're looking at the current situation and they're not built. It's not built for them right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The current situation is not for most of his friends. They look at that and they see 30K and you got to lean in a bit with Star Citizen, to Admiral's point, to get over some of that stuff. Remember, like, who knows? Maybe he tried to bring his friends in across 318, and none of my friends would have come in on 318. I couldn't even get in on 318. Right?
True that.
So you catching all these 1905 errors and all this other stuff, and you're like, this just ain't done. I'll come back when it's done, right? But to your point, we had all of these years of experience before the 318 moment to inform the experiences after the 318 moment. So 318 just became another moment for us, right?
Right.
And now we get to Admiral Kusanagi, funny in the chat, but now we get to place that 318 moment in context.
Yeah.
Right. To your point. So I think that Koawhkaine needs to reflect on the fact that there are lots of human beings. He starts off with this bombastic, polarizing statement. It's the best game ever made that no one plays. A lot of us are playing it, right? His friends aren't playing it, maybe because his friends are used to a typified MMO
product.
But we're playing it because we like to test in alpha a universe sim, and those things may be materially different.
Yeah.
Materially different. That's all.
Good points. All right, Captain. Thank you. I'm not gonna comment to what you have to say because I think you kind of encapsulated my feelings, and so did everyone else. But I hope you can see this last part, and if you want to come back in, I'll be happy to have you come back. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. Good stuff there, guys. Thank you guys again for joining us today, Saturday afternoon. Today's topic is going to be our next question, and I'm going to show you guys a little video clip. And this video clip I think this video clip kind of summarizes or brings together the feelings of many people in the Star Citizen community. I've never said this, I've never verbalized this, but I have definitely thought it, and maybe some of you all have thought it. I've never said it because I was a little worried about offending somebody. I'll be honest with you. That's why I never made this statement, because I was like, oh, I don't want to piss anybody off when I say this, because they're going to take it the wrong way. But this was actually said by Rich from Cloud Imperium Games. He articulated the sentiments of many a backer. And so if you get a little worked up, feel free to come in and share how you feel about this comment. But this is the title for today's show. Star Citizen, it's not for you. Or is that what it is? It's not for you? No, I think I changed it, right? What did I say it was supposed to be? Hold on a second, guys. I can't remember. It's supposed to be Star Citizen. I think I got it corrected. That's what originally what it was. Is it for you? It's supposed to be, is it for you? Let me change that, because God knows I don't want to say it's not for you. I want to raise the question of, is it for you? Okay, we're going to say, is it for you? Okay, and we're going to put a question mark behind that. All right, I forgot to correct my stuff. I went through 5 different titles for this show today, guys, so like Star Postman grinds my gears. Okay, so here's the video. This video, I was laying in bed yesterday listening, and I heard this, and I said, oh, I got to put this in the show tomorrow. So here's the video. Take it out. This is Rich from CIG talking about the master modes thing and all the controversy that came up with master modes and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and I do think it's important to say that, like with, any kind of virus stuff that we're tuning, we're always open to trying different things, but we've set out a framework of what we think works. And in the end, it comes down to a choice, because before we had a lot, we had a lot higher speed, and that wasn't always positive. So we've made the decision based upon certain factors that a lower speed works better, but it doesn't mean that, moving to a lower speed means it never has any negatives, because a choice is end of the day. We've made that choice to go slower, and we do think, overall it's going to be better than the speeds we had before. But,
Let me stop that right there. Did the ads come up? I see somebody said the ads were coming up. Did the ads come up, gang? Oh, 2 minutes left. Okay. All right. I'm going to hold that video. I'm going to hold that video because this video is well worth the look. Dang, I don't know, 2 minutes. That's driving me crazy. We are definitely going to have to figure out a way to cut that time down a little bit, because I don't want you guys waiting that long. Let me go back here. Let me restart the video, because I definitely want everyone to see this. First videos up. Thank you guys for letting me know. Just kicked ads. Okay, thanks, Black Intellect. Ads are, they're running now. Okay, wow. I don't know why the ads run at different times for some people. Some people are watching the ad, and other people, the ad comes in later. Maybe it's based upon like when you come in. Can you increase the volume more? Oh my God. Okay, I'll push it up more. I'm all the way at max for me. Give me a second. Well, since we're doing that, I'll do that while we're sitting here. Let me raise that up. Is that better? Matter of fact, let me max this out. Okay, is that better? Fast Cart, let me know if that's good. FC, test 1, 2, test 1, 2. That is better. Okay, all right. So I have a new setting for, let me save that, because that, I don't know if I can I save while this is running? I guess I can. Because I don't want to lose that setting. Okay, I was able to save. Okay, 30 seconds. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, guys, I'm so sorry. We'll have to figure out something on this ads thing. We need the revenue, but I don't want to make you guys have to sit around and wait like this. So we'll figure out something. Okay. 10 seconds. Awesome sauce. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go back and talk about this a little bit more again. Is it for you? Thank you. This is basically Rich from CIG expressing, answering a question about master modes. And then Disco asks him a little something that's kind of interesting. So check this out.
Yeah, and I do think it's important to say that, like with, any kind of virus stuff that we're tuning, we're always open to trying different things, but we've set out a framework of what we think works. And in the end, it comes down to a choice, because before we had a lot, with a lot higher speed, and that wasn't always positive. So we've made the decision based upon certain factors that a lower speed works better, but it doesn't mean that moving to a lower speed means it never has any negatives, because the choice is end of the day. We've made that choice to go slower, and we do think overall it's going to be better than the speeds we had before. But it's never going to be 100%, 10 out of 10. It solves every single problem that we have in the game. For example, because we're based in certain physical realities of flight, and the kind of power performance and stuff like that. So we're a little bit kind of tied to kind of physical realities more than kind of saying we're not going to change these numbers.
Yeah, but Rich, I want to be able to do everything I want to do at any time I want to do it, and be the only one who can do so. I don't want anybody else to be able to do that too, so that I can win. That's all I'm asking.
It sounds like you need to start your own games company.
Okay. So, Rich said it, all right? Some of us want to be able to come in and play the game the way we want to play it, the way we want to do it. Yeah, that's what we want to do. And so my question is there going to be a situation where, and we've talked about this, I've said this, as the game gets further and further along, will there be people who will find out that maybe Star Citizen isn't what they thought it was going to be? That maybe it won't deliver the game that they want. Not that it won't deliver, but that it may not deliver the game that they think they want. So let me bring in Pops in Space on this one. You'll bring him in first here. Pops, you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah. I think, some people, I'll try to be as avoiding controversy as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
But I think some people invested, let me back that up before I finish saying it. Mm-hmm. Some people bought ships for this game,
mm-hmm.
thinking that I'm going to buy a meta,
mm-hmm.
I'm going to have the best game. And I'll tell you from my beginning, I'll try not to take too much time.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw the price of ships, before I entered into Star Citizen, I saw the price of ships. I'm like, oh, okay, this is the typical MMO, $4,000 ship or whatever, up against the $60 ship, yeah, okay, you're not going to beat that. That's what I thought this game was.
Mm-hmm.
I invested in the game because of the new type of tech that they were building. When I saw that, a video, I think it was IGN put it out.
Okay.
And they were doing new tech, new ways of doing it. My light bulb lit up. I was like, oh, that's what Star Citizen is about. New, innovative, a way for us to play. So me and my son invested a small starter ship. We met people in the community. They were telling us, oh, this game is going to have this, it's going to have that. It's good. They're trying to work on this. We met in this Soul Citizens stream, and we got information, and that's why we stayed. That's why we put our money into more ships and things of that nature.
Okay.
Like that. I'm into it for the innovation.
Okay.
Pushing the boundaries.
Okay. That sounds good. I appreciate that, Pops. All righty. Let me bring in Fist to Face. Fist, you there?
Hey, all righty. So yeah, like Pops was saying, I believe the video to Pops was I think it was something from Digital Foundry.
Oh yeah, the Digital Foundry video.
Yeah. So, but to me, I'm going to say this before I get into it. I want all the smoke, because I'm going to be a little more controversial. like he said, you want the game to be the way you want it to be, and I'm gonna be honest with that. That likens to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Daddy, I want it, and I want it now. Right? And if you want it and you want it now, go get it and go make it. Right? I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to cut it any other way. I mean, it's just black and white. It's.
But do you think it's difficult? Do you think it's difficult for people to separate their personal desires, the things that they've dreamed up of what Star Citizen will be, versus what CIG is capable and going to promote, what they're going to do? Because I still think that there are. I'll give you a good example. Here's a great example. Idris came out, right? Finally get to see the interior of it. I got excited about it. I said, wow, they put the work in on this thing. It's amazing, right? I looked at it though and said, good org ship, good org ship, good place for an org to really, good decent amount of people on this thing. You could do some fun stuff with it as an org. There are other people who see the Idris and say, I'll get this, I'll get 5 of my friends, we'll get NPCs or we'll get blades and we'll go out and do our stuff. Now, that's okay. But for me, there's not enough evidence to say that that's going to really happen the way we think it is. And there's a possibility that it will happen. But there's also a possibility that blades may only just do turrets and that's it. So for me, I'm willing to wait. Let's say CIG doesn't deliver the way people think. That maybe they'll say 20%, 30% of your ship can be blades.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm saying they can retcon, they can flex things because they've got to make things work within the context of gameplay, context of development, technology, balance, all that, right? But it's very easy for us to remember when the whole controversy came about, why can't I solo a Javelin or why can't I solo an Idris, right? And are people, is there a situation where there may be some people that if they can't do that, they'll walk away? Or will they just say that, well, that's just one element of the game I can't do? I mean,
to your point, and to your point though, Griff, the reason why I came into the game is because you can't solo a Javelin.
Yeah.
It's to the point of what Pops just said earlier, is that you have a $2,000 ship that, and okay, you think about it, like I've played other MMOs where I've seen people drop 44 grand in the first day just to get top gear.
Yeah.
So the way that their org can run the server.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I kid you not, and I'm not exaggerating when I say 44 grand. I'm like, what? That is that is insane. But then when I got hip to the game, I don't want to, what? I'm gonna stop there. I'm not even gonna go into that part. But the thing is that 2000, when we saw the video and we saw that it was $2,000 for a ship that needed to be you could kind of say physically manned or player manned.
Right.
It made it seem like, okay, wait a second. So if somebody's in this ship and they bought it and they want to take it out by themselves and they don't have people to man this, or they don't have maybe possibly, like you said, NPCs to man this, and maybe there's a limitation on that, then that puts that ship at a disadvantage, not an advantage.
Right.
Because now it's a flying paperweight.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that made me think, oh, okay. So that's what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that piqued my interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all I'm saying is just that, if you're thinking you're gonna be able to go around in a Javelin and be able to do that and want to do that, hey, come on now. I mean, that's silly.
Yeah. Well, again, that's what people are bringing to the table, and CIG has made that. Not that they're saying that you can't go out. They've said you can if you want to.
I mean, you can if you want to.
Right.
What? How much is that gas going to be? How much is that gas going to be? How much is all of the maintenance on that ship is going to be?
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't even talk about that part of
right.
it yet. And folks, I'm just saying, like when if you do your due diligence and understand what the game is, and that's when and that's why, like I said again, real quick, that's when we sat down and did our due diligence to sit down and find out what the game is, and that's what got the ball rolling for us.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Fist, thank you, brother. All right, let me bring in, I think it was Jay or Togi. I can't remember which one was here first, but let me bring Jay in. Jay, you there?
Hello.
There he is.
So this question I've been struggling with since really I first. I'm a type of player that wish to be in a place and other people.
Your mic is chopping up. So I don't know if you're talking directly towards your mic, but you're going in and out. Actually, you're roboting.
Okay, people. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Try one more time. Let's see
how many people are
there we go.
interested in doing what I want. How many people are going to be interested in doing what I want to do when I want to do it?
Yeah.
With, and I'm relying on the 2013 blog talking about extra game packs being able to NPC and crew your ships.
Right.
We have no idea how many number of characters we can have on the account.
Right.
And if I've kind of built my fleet around, if we have this many characters per account, I can fly these ships reasonably. My top end is 10 people, so I can self crew a BMM and a defender combo.
Okay.
And if the peripheral settings are actually developed in the game where someone else can take over one of my game packs, then that allows me to bring in people and still do the thing that I want to do whenever I want to do it.
Right.
And to me, that's best of both worlds. But we have no idea whether that dream of 2013 will actually make it to launch.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of waiting to see whether that can actually happen or not.
Yeah.
They can pull that off.
Yeah, I think.
But another thing.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. No, you.
Another thing that I'm a Care Bear. I kind of don't enjoy PvP, and this world is obviously an open world PvP game. That concerns me on how much enjoyment I'm going to have inside this game.
Yeah.
If I have sections of the universe which are high security, then I can do the things that I want to do.
Right.
But this week's Inside Star Citizen really concerned me because they were talking about FPS, and they're saying that their settings are for enjoyment, not for realism. And that concerns me because I don't play any first player shooters at all. They just do nothing for me.
Yeah.
But if they are tailor-making that part of Star Citizen to be just like the other first-person shooters out there, so they can draw on those players, that worries me that, they're kind of catering for that community to bring in people, to bring in revenue.
Yeah.
That's smart business, but that's not necessarily fun for me.
Yeah.
So that's got me concerned.
Let me share something, not just with you, but everyone. Colossal says, "Yeah, Care Bears." He's cheering you, right? He's not being facetious because he likes the same thing. I think one of the dynamics that hurts us in gaming, not saying you're articulating this, but I've heard people say this, is the fact that there's no MMO that has been successful without having one and the other. In other words, PvPers need Care Bears and Care Bears need PvPers in the end, right? The question becomes, how do they structure the game so that there's enough balance there so that when engagements do take place, if an engagement happens to you and you feel that the engagement was fair, I'm talking about from both sides, then you're okay with it. You can deal with it. There's a certain level of risk even as a Care Bear. That when you're preparing to go do something, if you lose whatever it is you had, if you feel like there was opportunity for you, and maybe the opportunity is, man, I should have did this, or maybe if I did this, but if you feel like it was overwhelmingly leaning toward the PvP person on the other side, then you're going to be frustrated, and vice versa for the PvP person. That person needs to be able to know that there are going to be reasons to go out and make an attempt, and maybe if they make an attempt and the person gets away, or the person uses some tactic that they weren't expecting, or the fact that they ran short on ammunition and they didn't have enough to finish the job, but they feel like, okay, It wasn't that this person was, as soon as I popped up, they were able to get away from me right away. Then they don't lose their balance. Now that's CIG's job to make that world exist. But it is also our job to be vocal. And quite often, Care Bears are usually a little less vocal in the sense of what Care Bears do, and I'm a Care Bear. Care Bears have a tendency to complain and not give solutions. PvP players have a great opportunities to put a bunch of solutions out there, but they often just all over the place. They just want to make sure their thing happens, right? I think that it's important that both communities not only talk about their concerns, which you did, which is great, but to also say, how do we look at the game so that it's win-win for everybody and not any one side be the one that has the greater advantage, right? And I've shared the story before about when I got pirated last year. It was the first time I've ever gotten pirated in this game. These jokers, it was my mistake. I decided, and I knew. I had been transporting stuff in a Connie, and I moved from a Taurus up to a C2 because there was nothing in between that gap, from like 186 units to 600 units. And I only needed to move 300 units, but I didn't have anything in between. So I didn't feel like doing 2 trips. I said, let me step up my game. I took a C2 out, but I also know the C2 has a freaking bullseye on it. Not only did I take the C2 out, I took it out with no gunner. So I'm already at that point putting the game against myself just because of that. I'm taking a higher risk chance. I go out, I leave Microtech. This guy comes with a Cuddy Blue, chases me for almost 20 minutes, hitting me, pounding me, dropping the thing that shut me down. He shut me down like 3 different times. My power, I would keep back. But this went on for about 20 minutes. He finally completely disables me. As soon as he disables me, right away, I see a Connie pull up. I see him pull up. I'm like, okay, these guys are coming to get me. I'm soft-deathed. So what do? I EVA out and I go all the way to the back of the C2, back where the engines are, and hide because I know they're coming to kill me. Sure enough, the elevator comes up. I see them EVAing into the cockpit area. I run to the elevator. I go downstairs. I get off the ship. I'm like, what do? There's nobody around here. So you know what I went and did? This is no joke, Jay. I went and hid in the engine cowling. And I sat there for 30 minutes. I could hear them moving boxes. I could hear them steps forward. I see them loading stuff. By this time, I'm telling my friends, hey, I need help. At this point, a bunch of my people in test are all the way over at Hurston. They're jumping into Drake Corsairs and everything to come help and engage. It took them 45 minutes to unload my ship. By that time, my test people showed up and we had a great battle. Now, guess what? When I got through with that encounter, the guys who pirated me, we blew up we blew up their Cuddy Blue, but they did get away with about 3/4 of my stuff. And afterward, they typed into the chat. They said, "Great job, Griff. Do you want us to give you half your stuff back?" Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen all the time, but that was a situation where they felt they got to do their pirating. I felt like I got pirated. I understood it, and there was balance. I was not mad. You know what I said? Nah, keep it. You guys earned it. Now, if I can see scenarios like that where there's balance and things happen like that, then I'm very cool with PvP existing along with the Care Bears. But it's CIG's job to make sure that those opportunities happen. If they don't, we got problems, So anyway, thank you, Jay. You got to listen to my long-winded story. Let me bring Togi in. Togi, you there?
What up?
Hey, buddy.
So I think this really speaks to what I was saying earlier about people having to wake up from their dreams. Mm-hmm. Star Citizen being the project that it is, with nothing being concrete, with everything being subject to change, there is so many little nooks and crannies for people to dig their dreams into.
Yeah.
And as things change, people are going to have to wake up to things not being exactly the way that you wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And it's not just CIG's thing, because literally, I don't think there's anyone who plays this game that isn't guilty of that.
Mm-hmm. True.
There's everybody who's taken something that wasn't explicit or isn't of a finalized design and hung to their hat on it and said, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And if that's not the direction that CIG goes,
be prepared.
You kind of have to be okay with that. There's things that I don't like. I don't like the FPS changes. It's a little too Call of Duty for me. It's a little bit not milsim enough, but I get why it's good for the game. I can look at it and I can say, okay, given the information available, given the reason that they've made the changes, I can understand how that's a good change for the game.
Yeah.
You know, PvE, PvP, cargo, mining, all of it.
Yeah.
It's all going to be like that.
Let me highlight something that you said, Togi, that I think everybody needs to hear again. And Togi said it several times when he said this today. We don't have all the information. And sometimes we do find ourselves hanging our hat on something. And maybe the information we have about any particular topic may only be 30%. Maybe it's 60%. Maybe it's 20%. Maybe it's a tier 1. And on their boards at CIG, they want to go to tier 10. So, and I know it's difficult because all we have, to Togi's point, to judge things by is what's in our hands. But we always have to remember that what's in our hands is not, until they tell us mining's done, until they say salvaging's done, until they say FPS is done, there's a fluidity that we all have to be willing to ride. That wave, we all have to be willing to do it. If not, Togi's hitting it on the head. You may wake up very disappointed. Very disappointed. If you've locked yourself, as you put it, locked yourself into some idea of what Star Citizen is going to be. Only Chris Roberts knows. Now, I'm not trying to be funny when I say that, guys, but Chris said the game I've always wanted to play. And I don't know what that game is. He's given us hints and inklings and glimpses. But where this is going to end in the end, I don't think, to your point, Togi, none of us knows.
No, and I mean, and that's something that people really do need to keep in mind, is that you're buying somebody else's dream.
Oh, whoa.
You're not making
good
your
point.
own.
Good point. Wow. Good point. Should have named the show that. You're making somebody else's dream. All right, Togi. Thanks, brother. All that good wisdom from the Mr. T himself. Let me bring in, I think Stunner was here first. Who'll bring Stunner, and then we'll close out with Admiral. Stunner, you there?
Hey,
buddy.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good what Togi just said. That's hard to follow. But so just, going off of what Fist said, I mean, there's just some people that weren't raised right, and they want what they want now. And I think it's perfectly fine to say what they did here in the video because it wasn't done nasty. I mean, it's appropriate, I think, to sometimes say that to some people. But the other way I would look at it, and I'm sure some people at CIG do, and hopefully they share it with others too, because I've followed a few games, like, in development of them and, before they launched and stuff. And it's been my experience. I don't think any game, just in my opinion, will ever be able to actually become the everything game for everybody, just because of human nature. But my experience is that the closer a game seems to get to that mark, the more this stuff crops up. Like the more theory crafting comes along, which is, one of the biggest fun parts of the game for us right now. And the more that people feel comfortable sharing, like, I think, I want to be able to do this in the game, and I think the game should be this way. So I think they should kind of take it as a badge of honor, because I think the closer you are to hitting that mark, to being a very well-rounded, balanced experience for the largest group of people possible, I think the more this is gonna, you're gonna get comments that frustrating comments from people saying, they want it this way, they want it that way, they want it every which way, but that's just good for them.
I wouldn't want to be Chris Roberts.
Right.
There's the idea of creating the game that he has thought of, that he's dreamed of for a while, right? Whether because of technical limitations or, whatever the aspect was that brought him to this place of, is it an expansion of what was Wing Commander and Freelancer, the ultimate game, whatever has brought him to that place, right? But there's a business side to this too. There's a technology side to this. The technology side says, can we accomplish, the feat of these dreams? There is the game side of it that says, are those dreams, can they be put within a container that allows for what would be considered gameplay and retention of an audience, right? And the growth of an audience and the persistence of, pardon the word, the fact that this game can be around 10, 15, 20 years later. Just because you have a dream does not mean that that's what's guaranteed. But that's something, if you want to talk about the longevity of the company and the product that you're producing, and if you're feeling like this is going to be the culmination of everything that I've always wanted to do, what does it take to get to that particular space, right? And then there's just the whole dynamic of the game industry. There is the dynamic of the people that you are trying to serve and cater, that you've got all these people who all have been influenced by space and space games and history and gaming And they're bringing all their concerns to the table too, and trying to satisfy every one of those categories. And,
God,
and,
yeah,
and
you're right.
which means that every one of those categories is going to have some area of compromise. Every one of them. Because you're not going to get 100% in all those boxes. And the question becomes, maybe over here you can do 70% when it comes to, let me pick a better number. Maybe you can do 85 to 90% of technology, right? But for business, maybe you can only provide 80%. Maybe for the audience, it's 70% or 40%. There's not going to be 100 in all those boxes. And, I know someone said earlier, I forget who it was, so please forgive me because the chat has scrolled by, but they said that it's a shared dream. It is a shared dream. Don't get me wrong. What we are participating in is something that we've also dreamed about. But understand that the orchestrator of the dream is not us. It's Chris Roberts. Yes, can we have influence? Absolutely. CIG has said that there are things that people who work for them suggest that maybe wasn't on the table, things that the community suggests that maybe wasn't on the table, that they are willing to consider if it will make the game better. All we're saying is maintain a certain level of reality that things change, and that CIG hopefully is working to give us as much as possible of both what Chris Roberts wants and also hearing the voice of the community. But the concern is for me, and I still think this is going to be the case, that when Star Citizen reaches a final stage, that there will be some people who will say, it's not for me. Now, that it's not for me may be just because they play it to a certain level, and it's okay, it's fun, I have a good time when I'm in there, but that's it. Other people, they're going to be in love with it, and this is going to be their top game that they're going to play for, like an Eve person, right? They're going to play this game that's just dedicated to it. There are going to be some people who are going to say, I thought the game was going to be this, but it didn't end up being that, And I think all of us have got to ask that question, how far, if mining, listen, I'm big into mining. The Orion is on my brain. If the Orion doesn't deliver the way I thought it would be, if they change the mechanics, all this, there's supposed to be 6 different stations in the Orion that people are supposed to operate and work. If they cut that down to 3, am I going to say, oh, my Orion, they changed it? Actually, I have done that before. When the Harbinger lost 1 torpedo, I lost it. But I was so mad. I said, hey, this thing's supposed to have 4 torpedoes. And they were, we cut it down to 3. And then I said, well, get rid of those 2 bunk beds on the other side and make it 6, right? But I'm going to get the Harbinger. I'm going to get it. I was upset about it, but I'm going to get it. But my point is, where are you going to be if maybe some things don't get delivered that you really, really want? So.
Yep, definitely. And going back to that was a good point you made. And I often thought that when all the controversy was coming out about the layoffs that they did and Todd and Pappy leaving and stuff, it got me thinking it's hard enough, which you brought up, for Chris Roberts to have a dream and for him have to be able to hold on to it for maybe 20 years to see it to completion.
Mm-hmm.
He has to rely on all those other people that work for him to be able to accomplish that, and they may not share his dream. They're there to get a paycheck, a lot of them, but they may not have any passion towards
True.
They may not even have the passion that some of us as players back in the game have, but he still has to rely on them to help fulfill his dreams. So it must be a crazy difficult process.
Listen, maybe they have the passion, but life changes happen, right? Where they can't stay. You heard me talk about the thing with Industrial Light and Magic. Some people just left because they got burnt out. They're working at ILM. They love the job, but they just got burnt out. They're like, dude, this is too much. We've been pushing movies out every freaking 2 years. I need a break. Some people go start their own business. Just recently, last week, a week before last, was it EA laid off 600 people. Sony laid off 900 people. And we've been so focused on what's going on in CIG and is the sky falling, and we're not also looking at in the industry what also has been happening too, right? And they told us we're going to be doing some restructuring. They told us a year ago we're starting to migrate people over to our headquarters. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just saying there's all these variables that, to your point, do impact Chris Roberts' vision, right? And those are the things that we as players don't think about, right? What happens when you lose a key person, right? Or what happens if someone's life changes? There's all these variables. Like I said, I wouldn't want to be Chris Roberts. I wouldn't want to be Chris Roberts at all. It's a lot to take on. All right, buddy. Thank you much. All right. Last but not least, the one and the only, it grinds my gears, man, Admiral Kusanagi. Hey, Admiral.
Hey, sir. How's it going?
Okie dokie.
I got these all listed down for you because I know you're...
Okay.
prepared for time.
Okay.
We'll start with I think you guys started with the Idris and the Jab first. So, when you look at that gameplay, people, trying to put on how many they can use in that. I've always looked at like the server blades as being like, limiting other areas that you could put stuff on, whether it be like better radar reception or perhaps to hide your your emissions or something like that. So there's so much stuff that they haven't said about what those could be used, and people are really like putting themselves in a corner if they're going to try to like solo this ship or put only 10 people on this ship. On those size ships. They're just the multi-crew is just kind of have to expand, and it's really going to be beneficial to have real people. In terms of like the FPS idea of this, like, oh, we have to kind of be so good with the PvPers. It's like, people are they really trying to get Fortnite and COD players in this game? Because I don't see them spending all that time doing cargo and playing chess in an MSR for an hour in some giant system. Stanton's 4AU. I forget what system it is, but there's like a system that's 350 AU size. How goddamn long do you have to be just traveling inside that system, not just traveling from, say you want to travel from like multiple systems like over the course of like a day, right? So you have to travel, say from, we'll just say for instance, you have to go from Pyro, from Stanton to the Pyro thing, right? So you have to travel from wherever you start off, say in Microtech, you get to the jump point for Pyro, jump through Pyro, then get to the Pyro jump point, then have to travel Quantum to whatever jump point you're going to get to in Pyro, whether it be Terra or I think Nyx will be one of them. We'll say Nyx,
right?
And vice versa. These are small systems. Imagine when it actually takes real time, and then you're talking about having to deal with radiation, surges that can blow out your computer systems and all this other crap. Your whole day could be wiped out because you
just
some
travel.
idiot didn't see the sun coming at you.
Right.
So I don't understand how like they really need to like put I mean, I know they're trying, and I know there are people in SIG, and I know there are people here in chat who really want PvP, and they will be PvP, but I'm just saying there's a level of players that are going to be like, screw this. So, and then, I bought this game originally. I think I saw the Squadron 42 thing, and I thought the PU was great. I knew they were making a game that was going to be like Mass Effect, and that's what they were kind of talking about. Like, oh, we want to make a trilogy, RPG game, and then make an MMO after that, and be kind of like intermixed. So I'm like, okay, cool. Now, have I probably purchased the most expensive RPG I've ever spent in my life, getting close to an F8? Probably so. Because if I don't play the PU and I just play the goddamn RPG, yeah, it is definitely going to be that. But that's just what it is. I don't know where I'm going to be in like 6 years when this thing is done.
Right.
I could either, I might, I don't know, fall off a cliff or whatever, or not be able to function. There's other things that can happen in life.
Right.
I'm throwing all these out at you really quick, but I do want to say I'm a little confused with this speed stuff, because they want to slow us down, and I feel like my arrow, if I'm in a dogfight, should it should extend out the front, and the propeller could come out, so it can make sense to go that slow fighting.
Yeah. So I think CIG has said why they're doing it. I think we're having a problem with accepting it. And I'm speaking for myself too. This is what they have said. We've done all this labor and work on these ships. And when you're firing on them, you're firing at nothing but an icon out in the distance. And Chris has definitely been influenced by what we've seen. And George Lucas was too. They watched World War II, combat, where you came in close, you could see ships, and he's saying, he wants us to, because first of all, for me to target somebody's shield generator or target their quantum drive from 3,000 meters out is not practical. It would be all computerized. We talked about this the other day. If we made things realistically, I wouldn't be doing a whole lot of stuff in my ship. I'd be talking and thinking or whatever, and my ship would be doing it. That's not gameplay. It would be very boring over time. So there has to be a tactile, both visually and physically, feel for gamers to feel like they're engaging and being interactive in the game. Now that may go against science, it may go against 900 years in the future, but we're playing a game today. Now there are some people who would get off on just speaking and the game doing what it is. They would love that. That futurist attitude. I'm not against it. I'm saying I'd be one of those people that would dig it. But that's not the majority of gamers. The majority of the gamers are used to a tactile, engaging dynamic in a game. So Chris and them are saying, we want you to be able to work to get in tight, not just be off at 3,000, 4,000 meters, even though we know ships are capable. I want these ships to be able to come in within hundreds of meters of each other. I want you to be able to see the other pilot when he's curving and turning. I want you to be able to target and lock onto a component. I want you to see when that piece flies off the ship. That's what they want. Regardless to realism or technology, that is what they've articulated. And it's difficult for us to be willing to say, okay, if that's what Chris wants, and we want to take reality and numbers and science and all this other stuff and say, no, it should be this. I agree. But the reality is, this is what Chris, that's why I'm saying, is this game for you? Not you, Admiral. Is this game, regardless to how you feel about how dogfighting should be, is this game for you? This is what Chris wants. And we either got to say, okay, I don't like it, but does that mean I'm not going to dogfight? Does that mean I'm not going to play the game? No, if I want to play the game, I'm just going to have to dogfight that way.
I mean, that's where I come up with the Squadron 42 thing, you know? It's something that I really want to do. I'm looking forward to Squadron 42 more than I am looking forward to 323. Yeah. I really am.
Yeah.
I think because it's going to be finished.
Yeah.
It's not going to have any little bugs. It's going to be like, it's going to be a finished game.
Yeah.
And I know we've seen like stuff come down that's like, oh man, they released this game. They released Cyberpunk. It had all these stupid bugs. And I know Chris Roberts is like, that's not going to be our game.
Yeah.
We're going to do things the way it used to be done. And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Let me say this real quick. Let me encourage everybody. Listen, there's a reason why we're in here at Alpha. There's nothing wrong with expressing the fact that you want to see some things differently. Do that. Because by the time we get to beta, stuff's starting to get locked in. And CIG on their Friday show said that there are some things that we feel pretty strongly about, but there are some things that we're still listening. And if we can tweak it and make it better. I think one of the examples they said was, if it means speeding up a ship by 100 meters per second, if it means it's the difference, then we'll do it. So again, guys, don't think that when something comes out in alpha that that's locked in. This is the time for you to express that maybe things could be a little bit faster, guys. Maybe we can't do 1,000 meters per second, but can you kick it up by maybe 100? Let's find the compromise that works, that still allows us to visually see ships. Maybe we feel like we can still do it at 600 meters, but this is the time for you guys to express it. But express it in ways that understand that CIG still, Chris's vision is still there, and your suggestion has got to in some way or other make sense to that vision. If it doesn't make sense to that vision, the odds are not that great unless it makes gameplay better. And even then, Chris may still hardline certain things that he wants. We just don't know. We just don't know. Go ahead, Admiral.
Again, it could be just like Co might be the thing that you want to play. If that's going to be a thing in the future, that might be your Star Citizen.
Yeah, exactly.
It could just be replaying the Squadron 42 trailers. Excuse me, the chapters. But when you mentioned the meters per second, you know, this is supposed to be like Star Wars. I know, like the whole thing is like, oh yeah, it's kind of like Star Wars made it like World War II bombers where they had like dogfighting. Like they were also going super fast. Like it felt fast.
But
like,
it was also unrealistic. There's no way in that game without computers that you could fire like that. That is totally fantasy. That's why it's called science fantasy, not science fiction. Star Wars is science fantasy. And again, this is what I'm talking about people taking their experiences from film and everything else and overlaying it over Star Citizen. And you can't do that. I know we want to, but the reality is that's why Luke Skywalker, Anakin was so unique, because he used the freaking Force. The computers, you'd have to fly with computers in order to fight at that level. And we don't fly with computers. We have assistants, but we would have to target strictly by computers if we were doing that in this game. And then even then it'd be at a distance, right? At what speed? You know, we complain. Listen, I'm not trying to be funny, Admiral, not you. The gamers complain already. Do you know if you were flying through space in these asteroid fields, we'd be all dead because you'd have to navigate. You can't navigate through a freaking asteroid at the speeds we're moving at. You'd be dead. Particles and all types. If you want to go real, let's go real. You know, CIG has to find the balance between those two, the realism and what is fun gameplay. And it's a difficult road. You know, it's a difficult road to find that satisfies not everybody, but at least the majority of the players.
So wait a minute, Griff, are you saying that when my shield should stay up when I go super fast, unlike Griff Sig wants to take them down? Is that what you're saying I need to have up to prevent my
So you die from
canopy getting blown off?
space particles already would wipe you out. That's what I'm telling you. I mean, if you want to go completely technical, you'd be jacked up anyway. You just have to go with what they come up with, gang. That's all I'm saying. And again, feel free to express other stuff. Don't tell me the odds.
One of the issues that I have, to be honest, is what you bring up is speed. Because like if you go over the Microtech, tram or whatever the hell,
right,
and you're doing 200 meters a second, it's supposed to be 447 miles an hour. Does that feel like 447 miles an hour?
First of all, you'd be laid out. You'd be laid out somewhere, right? I mean,
you'd be going pretty quick, right? So I just feel like they're missing some elements here, and I feel like this might turn people off. I'm just saying, like,
I'll tell you who it'll turn off. Let me tell you who it'll turn off. Seriously, and I'm being very serious when I say this. It will turn off those of us who are so anal about numbers and technology. Because guess what? You get somebody who doesn't know anything about this game and you bring them into this world, they see none of that.
I love it.
They see none of it. They see none of it. We have been around so much and have read so much detail and so much information that Togi said this earlier, in some ways we've locked ourselves into what this game is supposed to be. There are going to be things in Star Citizen that make no sense. Y'all hear me? There's going to be some stuff in here that makes no sense. Embrace it. If it makes the game fun, if it don't get hung up on it. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some things that can be game breaking. They truly can be game breaking. And I can understand that. But I'm saying weigh it out across the board. Is it, I may not like it. It may be goofy. It may go against science. It may go against physics. Yeah, maybe. The question is it the game for you? And if it is, if it isn't, okay. Is it a deal breaker for you? If your ship doesn't do such and such, or if your gun doesn't do such and such, is that going to be a game breaker for you? Regardless of the money you spend, I don't care if you spend $20 or $2,000.
Well, it's like the guy we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who's like, he wants like 40 people,
right?
Blah blah blah. And it's
right.
Is that gonna break the game for him?
Right.
And it's like what we all have to go through. In terms of like we've talked about it in Soul Citizens, we have people who are very technical people, very high degrees, and they're like, hey, I have a problem right now, and this might prevent me from playing the game anymore.
Yeah.
And we're like, they'll be back.
Well, I think it's frustration. Listen, I get it. Believe me, I understand. I don't want to diminish anyone's frustrations or desires for the game. I really don't. I don't want to come off like that saying, you need to change your. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that I want people to understand that there are times when CIG will just choose to go a certain path, and if you want to call it wrong, so be it. If you feel like they took a wrong decision, okay, but that's the way they chose to go. Is that a game breaker for you? It could be frustrating, and again, we're still in alpha. Guys, I keep saying this. If you want to start getting your blood pressure up, let's talk about it when we get to beta. When we get to beta and features are locked in and we're no longer on tier 1, 2, and 3 of stuff, but we're on tier 6, 7, and 8 of stuff, and something isn't working or something's not okay. Start barking like crazy. You know what I'm saying? But in alpha, and again, people keep forgetting that just because you're not in PTU, they think, oh, it's live, it's working. No, freaking the live servers are still testing servers. They're not finished products. They're still testing. They're still working through things. Things still come and go. And so feel free to express it. If you tell me that based upon science, like I remember when the people went to Pyro and the radiation things were happening. Now, if somebody said, well, CIG just wants to make radiation keep happening like that, I would say, no, you don't get radiation bursts like that frequently. Scientifically, I think Jade highlighted the fact that it wasn't called whatever it was they were calling it. She said it's the incorrect name. I think those are great suggestions, and I think that's the way they should go. I think we should point out things because, everybody working at CIG ain't necessarily astrophysicists. So, we tell them, hey, that's cool. All I'm saying is, though, but if they decide to call it, a Charlie Brown burst, and that's what they want to name it, okay. That's all I'm saying. There's going to be something everybody in here, I've said it, guys, There's going to be something in this game that everybody's going to have some pushback on. They're going to feel should be done a little differently, should have been tweaked differently, or maybe should not have even been in the game at all. Just be prepared for that. That's all I'm saying. Sonic toilets. I know, Admiral's New Souls is messing with us, right? The toilet paper, right? But if that's the most I have to worry about is toilet paper, I'd rather take that than something that actually affects my gameplay in a major way, But I agree with Admiral 100%. We need to get rid of the toilet paper rolls. They're not needed. They're not needed in the game.
Really? I didn't know you agree with me with that.
I've always agreed with that. I've always agreed. No, I've always agreed with that. I mean, toilets don't bother me, but I've always agreed with you when you mentioned it. I think it's a valid point. We don't need toilet paper.
The ceiling, and I was like, what the hell?
You know what?
That?
I took a picture for you last night. After the show, I'm going to show you a picture I took for you, and everybody fell out laughing. So I'm taking this picture for Admiral because he's going to love it. So make sure I show it to you today. Okay. All right, gang. Admiral, as always, thank you for bringing good stuff to the table, man. All right, we got to work on that segment too, the grind my gears segment, okay? All right, let me get Admiral out of here, and we're going to get ready to wrap things up. You guys have been awesome today. Great conversations. A lot of stuff in chat. I was trying to read everything you guys have been saying, and you guys have been saying a lot of cool stuff in chat. But I hope you guys enjoyed the topic that we had today. Let's talk about what we've got coming up. Let's see, today. Tomorrow. Well, let's talk about today. No, let's talk about tomorrow. Let's talk about today first. Today, Podset Saturday. Today is Podset Saturday, where we are partnering with some of our friends in the Star Citizen community. We will send you guys over to the good Paul Shelley, who's, by the way, going to be our guest tomorrow on our show on Sunday. But Paul is the Astro Pub. He's going to be running the captain's table this evening. Just be aware that, okay, I want to talk about that right now. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But anyway, we're going to send you over there with Paul Shelley, get to hang out with him, and here's some great stuff from people in the Star Citizen community, other content creators, other guests that he brings in. By the way, Fast Cart was on there last week. If you guys didn't get to watch that show, make sure you tune into it. And then after that, we have our good friends over at Relay Station. They will be on tonight as well at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And you guys can check out the OGs of Star Citizen content creators. They will be on as well. Let's see. Let's talk about tomorrow. Oh, by the way, special thanks to everybody who joined us last week for our anniversary show, our 4th anniversary. We had such a blast. It was so good to see everybody on screen together. Lots of fun, lots of good conversation. If you guys haven't checked out that show, please be sure to go to our YouTube page and Twitch. It's on Twitch still. And look it up, our 4th anniversary show. You get some real good insights to all these folks that you guys get to listen to every week, not just hearing my mouth go off, but to hear the great thoughts and ideas that they have about Star Citizen. So definitely check that out when you guys get a chance. Let's see, what was I going to say? Oh, tomorrow's show. I alluded to this earlier. Our show tomorrow is called What a Wonderful World. And hopefully you guys will be able to join us for this show. We're going to go even deeper into this conversation about what it is that people envision, what they think Star Citizen will be like. We're going to be talking about the things that we know that CIG has told us and talked to us about. And then we're going to be talking about things that, kind of what they've implied. And then we're going to be talking about stuff that's like way off the meter, right? As I said earlier, everybody comes to this game bringing their vision of what they think Star Citizen's universe will be like. And tomorrow we're going to talk about it and hopefully confirm whether you're right or wrong, whether we're right or wrong. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow. So hopefully you guys will be able to join us tomorrow evening at 8. I'm sorry, new time. I almost blew it. Our show now begins at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We used to be 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We start 1 hour earlier. That is not because of daylight savings time. That is a permanent change to our times. So we are going to be changing 1 hour earlier. So hopefully you guys will be able to join us 1 hour earlier tomorrow. But if not, we'll be here. But that's going to be our new time just for our Sunday show. That's the only one that's changed. And it is now at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So we will look forward to seeing you guys there. Does my thing say 7 or 8? It says 8. Okay, don't pay attention to that time, guys. 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I used the old card. I didn't put the new one in there. All right. No, we're not going to go 1 hour longer. No, Lefty. We're ending an hour earlier. That's what the intention is, so that we're not up so late. Okay. So that's going to be our new time starting tomorrow. Special thanks to everybody who is out there. By the way, since Lefty's here, I do want to give a special shout out to our Evocati. Many of you guys know the Evocati this weekend. As I opened the show up talking about this a little bit, they have been testing this weekend the jump points in the game, going from Pyro to Stanton, Stanton to Pyro. And they've been pushing through all this weekend. This is a part of their testing. It's been going really, really well so far. They're having a lot of fun with it. So you guys give them some shouts out. As you guys know, they are able to talk about things. They can't show any images, no videos, no form of media. But they can tell you if things are going well, if they're having fun, stuff like that. So we'll be looking forward to that as we get closer and closer to 3.23. And yeah, they're going to be doing some other stuff too that's going to be happening that's going to be surprising you. I'm not going to talk about it unless they talk about it, but there's some good stuff that they're looking forward to do over this weekend. So that's about it. We are about to do a raid. Fast Card, I see who you're telling me, but I'm going to raid an old friend because we haven't raided him in a while. We're going to raid Trip Rodriguez. Those of you who've ever watched Trip has a really cool F8 cockpit simulator that he's created. Now, he's always been doing this flying thing with the sticks, but he's got this new setup. So when you guys get over and you see Trip, we haven't raided him in a while. Let him know that you came over from the Soul Citizens. He's a great guy. And if you want to learn about that low flying stuff, he's the guy to watch. Okay. Other than that, that's it. We'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow. Don't forget Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time or 9 p.m. Eastern time is Soul Talk with Fast Cart. You guys can join in on the group conversations there and have a great time with that group as well. We'll see you guys later. Have a great weekend. Take care of yourself. And as always, peace, love, and soul. Take care. Ciao.